Hi, students. Today we're going to be talking about the circular flow model and how it applies to the economy, into your life, and to wherever it is that you choose to work. Now, it looks like there's quite a bit going on in this entire circular flow model, but it's really not that difficult when you break it down piece by piece. We're going to start on the right-hand side over here where it says consumers or households. This is going to be you, and you are an active player in the market in that you tend to buy things, goods and services. And when you buy those items, you're buying them primarily from the output sector or the product market. So as it says here, you're the household or the consumer, and you are buying products then from the product market. But obviously, to purchase any good or a service, you need money or revenue to do that. So if you take a peek here in this transaction between the household and the product market, you're always spending money. Here are your expenditures. This is the money that you pay for the good or the service that you're buying. And then in return, the product market sells you the goods and services that you want. So what I'm going to ask you to do or be able to do is to provide examples for the circular flow model. So just think of the last thing that you bought and the store that you bought it at, and that is the product market. I do want to take a moment here, however, to point one thing out up the upper right-hand corner of this model. Understand, we've talked about the basic capitalist principles, and one of those is the idea of supply and demand. And what supply and demand does for each one of these transactions is it dictates the price that people are able and willing to pay for products and how much of that product or service will be made or provided to the economy. So every single transaction that you see here where there are two arrows going in opposite directions, supply and demand dictate what the price and the quantity will be in each one of these transactions. Now we're going to take it a step further. When you go to the store and you buy that good or service from the product market or the output sector, that doesn't automatically just show up in their back room. Most stores don't put together their own goods and services right on spot. They typically buy from somebody else. So if you take a peek here, the output sector or the product market, the store, in other words, is buying from the manufacturer who takes all of those goods and services and actually physically puts those things together and sells to the product market. So again, here you are. The output sector is going to buy goods and services here from the manufacturer or the business, and the revenue continues to run in the same direction. You can see this green line continue to run in the same direction throughout the entire circular flow model, but they are buying goods and services then from the manufacturer. So this is kind of like your middleman right here, the output sector, right? This is the sector of the economy that advertises goods and services and puts out all of these different marketing strategies to get you, the household, the consumer, to go out and buy it. But they are buying from the manufacturer, right? The businesses. Again, however, remember that supply and demand dictates what the price of this is going to be and how much of that good or service is going to be produced by the manufacturer. So let's apply an example to this. If you buy a car from Apple Ford or somewhere in town, a local dealer, that is going to be your output sector, and they are typically going to be buying from Detroit, from either Ford or GM or Chrysler. They are the manufacturer, they put things together. And as it says here, the manufacturer sells the products and the goods that they make, but they have to buy the factors of production in order to make that happen. So they have to buy land, labor, capital, technology, but specifically, they definitely need raw materials to put things together. So if you think of a car, cars need a number of different raw materials, such as steel, maybe rubber for the tires. They need a ton of different types of plastics for the car and glass. So the manufacturer is going to buy those things from the factor market or the input sector. And these are the things that go into your final product. That's why we call it the input sector. So manufacturers buy the raw materials from the factor market. If we apply the example of cars or trucks or vehicles, they're going to be buying steel, they're going to be buying rubber, they're going to be buying plastics, and that's all going to be going into the product that they're making. Again, supply and demand dictate how much those things will cost and how many of those things will be made and sold. So that's where you've got this transaction right here. So then let's go back up here to the top of the model. This is the input sector, the factor market. This part of the market can be a number of different things, but it is, like I said before, it could be a steel company, U.S. Steel, that sells its products to the manufacturer to use, or plastics or rubbers. We could also use, if you're buying a shirt, say, from a store, this could be the cotton factory that sells cotton then to maybe Gap Industries, where they put that together. So again, factor market, these are the inputs that go into the final product that is put together by the manufacturer. So now let's take a closer look here at the input sector. As it says here, the input sector of the factor market is going to be buying from the households. The households are the individuals, the people that sell the factors of production, the labor, their land sometimes, capital, obviously entrepreneurship goes into the input sector. So this transaction right here represents your wages or your revenue, your income, your salary that you make at your job. So you may work in one of these factor markets and you don't do that for free. You obviously do that for money. This is what you provide as the worker, and this is what you get in return. Now, not all of us work in the input sector. Some of us may work here in the manufacturer. Some also may work in various stores selling goods and services. But to make the circular flow circular, we just assume for the purpose of the circular flow model that we all work here. But these two lines right here could go to the manufacturer. These two lines could also go over here as well. So we just put it this way to make sure that we keep the circular flow in a circular fashion. Now, under true capitalism, this would all be true and this would all hold true, but there's not a single country or economy in the world that rules strictly by the capitalist principles. There's not an entirely free market system out there or free enterprise system out there. There's always something else, and that something else is the government. And the government provides a number of different things for you, the household or the consumer, also the output sector, the product market, the manufacturers, obviously, the input sector. But we all do know that government taxes. Government taxes you. State income taxes is one example. Federal income taxes would be another. When you buy your goods and services from the store or the output sector, they're going to put a sales tax on that sometimes, or a clothing tax, depending on what state you're in. The government's going to tax the product market as well. They're going to tax the manufacturer or the businesses. They also tax the input sector. So they're not only taxing the actual sectors, but they're taxing as well as these exchanges that take place as well. And in class, we go through a lot more examples of those types of taxes. But what do they provide back to you? Here's what the government provides back to you: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid when you reach that age and you qualify for those entitlement programs. Obviously, military services, fire safety, so you have fire stations in your local town. You have police forces. Hopefully you're going to school. That's all provided by the government. In addition, the government will also provide a number of things for you when you're working at your store or your output sector, or wherever it is that you work. When you go there, there are labor laws that have to be upheld by your employer. So you can't work X amount of hours without overtime, or you need certain amount of breaks. And in some cases, there are minimum wage laws, obviously, that also apply to you in your workplace. There are safety guidelines that also apply at your workplace that are put in place by the government. The government not only does that, but they provide roads and bridges so that the manufacturer and the input sector and the output sector can transport and deliver their goods and services. The government, if you take a look at the cars or the police cars and the fire trucks, they buy from the manufacturer. So they're also an active member of the circular flow model in that they buy goods and services that the government needs as well from different aspects or areas of the circular flow model. In addition to that, when you go out to eat, say here at a restaurant, there are certain regulations that need to be met within the restaurant and the food industry So when you go to a fast food restaurant, in the restroom, you probably see the sign that says all employees must wash their hands. Well, that's a regulation that's put in by the government as well. So you don't have to worry about getting sick at the places that you go to eat. In addition, if you buy goods and services that are no good, they have to issue recalls on some of these products and services so that you're aware that what you bought could harm you or somebody in your family. The government will also protect your money in the finance industry. That's why we have the FDIC that protects your deposits in your banks up to $250,000 today. So there are a number of things that the government provides back to the sectors of the circular flow model. So really, we could go on and on about the different types of services and goods and physical capital and human capital that the government provides back to not only you, the consumer, but also to the places that you may work or the places that you may buy from as well. So this is the circular flow model. Don't forget about supply and demand and how that dictates price and quantity of every single transaction that you take place here, whether it's from the manufacturer to the product market or the product market to you. Supply and demand dictate what that price is going to be and how much is going to be made. So hopefully this has been beneficial and helpful. As a review, or if you were gone from class, you now are caught up on the circular flow model. And if you have any further questions, make sure that you ask in class.